Hello. Ben, this is Randy.
Box.
Hey, Randy, this is Ben. Can you hear us?
I can hear you now. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, we're a couple minutes behind. We had some technical difficulties.
No problem.
About ready to get started.
When Erie was running into noise issues on the south side, there was a retired Delta pilot was leading the fight. What on earth, why did you move there?
They think they're authority and they're not. They really have no credibility whatsoever.
We need a few more people that would form, don't we?
We do. So today, good thing we're not voting on anything.
Right, well, I guess that's true.
You can make us.
So we can still have you can still present to us.
We're live.
Are we muted yet?
All right. Good evening. This is the November meeting of the Airport Advisory Board. We are lacking a chair and a quorum as of 5:08, but we're still going to go through the agenda. Given that, I see no request for public comment, and we cannot approve the minutes from the October meeting without a quorum, so we can skip straight to the presentation. So with that, Paul Anslow.
All right, I'll stand. No public comment.
Or the room. I forget that part. I'm
Yeah,
so close to
Stan, would
something.
you like to make a comment? Yeah.
I'm
Dan? All right.
All right.
This is the first slide?
Yep.
Okay. So, today we're gonna give, basically a state of the airport. We try to do this at least once a year, kind of let people know where we're at, both financially, operations, what projects the airport's doing and things like that. So, for airport operations, as of, the end of September, and I thought we had October numbers.
Not for ops for fuel again.
Okay. So at the end of September, we have 199,592 operations. Now, if you look at that towards last year, of all of last year, we had 205, the year before that 193, and then the year before that 195. So we are basically with a quarter to go, we're equal to almost our best year. So if you look at how many operations we're getting in the timeframes of 13,000, 15,000 operations, and most of that's due to the weather. In the summer, we'll get almost 25, 30,000 operations in a month. But looking into that, we could easily hit 250,000 operations this year, which is a pretty significant increase. So keep up the good work, Stan. Next slide, please.
How the field was today though.
For today, so here's a graphical representation. And so 2022 is the red line. And if you look, other than about January, every other month, this has been our best month for the whole entire year. So again, we think when you get down to, the end of the year, we're going to be at 250. Our best year ever was back in 78, Ben, 76 or 78, was 257. So we may have the greatest year this airport has ever had. So get out there and keep flying, Dan and Dave and Stan.
What was the reason for that big number back in those days?
What we are told, I was only 10, Stan, so I don't know, but what we are told is that that's the heyday of GA aircraft. The planes were cheap, the gas was cheap, everybody was, it was like the new hobby, and so it was just going gangbusters. It's funny, because like 3 years later, it dropped down when Carter, and the gas crisis and all that stuff. Not that it was his fault or not his fault, it was just during that time. So you see, and that's where we actually have a slide that I won't give today, but we show operations across the last 40, 50 years. And if you watch it, it ebbs and flows with the economy. So like we were down in the 150s to 180s during 2008, 2009. And then all of a sudden they started climbing back out. So in 2010, they came. I mean, so you'll see that throughout our history, but we are on track to having the best year ever. Next slide. I mean, hit 35,000 up, so I think it was the highest month this year. That's a lot of operations. So what's that tied to, right? Nobody wants just operations because you need sort of the fuel that goes with it. So that's what we are looking at. And again, if you look at our 2022 numbers, we still have 2 months left and we're averaging, 500,000 gallons a month. We're at 4.6. And so we could easily be, close to 5.5, 5.6. Again, a banner year in fuel sales. Important thing to note here, and this is really important. When I took over, the green triangle was at 38%. So that means our self-fuelers were taking almost 40% of our fuel. And we didn't, that's why we only had one FBO. Since Shelter's come in, and since Signature and increased ops, increased jet traffic and GA traffic, and we've gotten rid of 2 tanks now that were self-fuelers when they transferred to hangars. Now our FBOs are taking 80% of the fuel. So that's almost a 21% jump. So pretty good stuff there.
Paul, question on this. So the ops are up a bunch, 30% or 20% in total. The fuel's not up as much.
That's what I asked. I
Yeah.
made with Brandon double check. I was like, "You're lying to me, you son of a gun."
Yeah, right.
Right. We think it's actually a lot of the flight school and the GA traffic doing the patterns for the flight schools to kind of, get those X's out. And so they burn 8 gallons.
Right.
So I think the operation per gallon,
Without a lot of fuel burned. Yeah.
it's still going up. And we're also, if you look at September and October, those are our, and even August. August 4th was when JSX started.
Well, do we have any concern that GA traffic is going someplace else to buy fuel?
Don't know. I think Randy said no. How about you, Stan?
No.
You do your gas out of your,
Yeah, I don't show up on that chart. I use auto gas.
yeah. I don't know.
I have a feeling not.
I don't think so. I know that was a well-known fact when we just had Signature here.
Yeah.
But since we've gotten 2 and our prices, they're still high. I mean, I'm not gonna lie and say, oh, we're lowest in town, but, I just believe it's the ops per gallon sort of matrix. We're getting tons of training done. Our flight schools, I've talked to each and every one of them, they're having the best years they've ever had. So I think that's what it basically boils down to.
Paul, I think it used to be before we had 2, that a lot of people flew into Longmont or Erie or some of the other little airports. But now that the fuel is more competitive, I don't hear a lot of the people that anymore.
I would tend to agree with that, Randy. So the other important thing to think about a fuel is we get 13 cents a gallon on every gallon that's sold. So the FBOs and the private fuelers end up paying us that. So that, I think last time I checked was like $275,000 a year we make on that fuel royalty. So that helps. But this is a breakdown by month. Again, 2022 is in yellow. What's key to see here is when you look in like June and you see 2021, July and August, those were fire months. And so the fire tankers were going crazy and both FBOs were bringing in emergency fuel. And you rarely see FBOs sort of collaborating, but they were basically bringing in fuel and taking it to the Forest Service. And even though I believe Signature has the contract, they were saying, hey, Shelter, if you got trucks, bring it in. So they were both supplying those fire ops. I won't say sadly, that's not the word I want to use. Ironically, we've had almost 0 fires this year, which is great. Again, I don't want to say sadly. So, it'll be interesting because if you look at the, we almost had 600,000 gallons for, the summer. If you look at what JSX is able to do to kind of make up that difference. So I think that's the other thing we're seeing is, we didn't have the fire years that we had in previous years, which again is a great thing. Next slide. So now we'll talk about the money. So we are a self-sustaining enterprise fund. We get no county funds. Everything we do here, we have to self-fund. We do get obviously FAA grants for our major projects, runways and taxiways for the most. We get that revenue from ground leases, building leases, user fees, and the occasional land sale, and we'll talk about some of those later. We also get CDOT and FAA pays for 95% of all of our major projects, and then the airport has a 5% match. So Brandon and I love this slide because one, he didn't show it to me when I interviewed for the job, but when I took over, if you look at 2017, we had about $1.5 million in the bank, just under 2 million. But by 2022, which ironically is this year, this airport was going to be $7 million in the hole. And you go, how do you get there? And they had projects for a $2 million security upgrade. They had a $2.5 million equipment purchases, $3 million in the snow removal equipment, and $2 million in terminal improvement. So none of those brought income into the airport. It was basically an expenditure. And so one of the very first things Brandon and I did with the staff working going is like cut out all of those projects and said, look, we've got to get this right. I'd like to be here longer than 3 or 4 years.
Paul, let me ask you a question. So, this is what it was gonna be on, what's the total budget, the revenue side of the enterprise itself?
We're gonna get there.
Okay.
Good question, but we will get there.
Yeah.
So where are we at now? Oh, so one of the first things we did, and again, I like to say that we don't make profit, we make revenue. It's not in my job description or my goal to raise profit. We need to raise revenue. So since 2018, we've increased revenues 46%. Last year, when I gave this brief, it was at 39%. So we're continuing to go up. And how do we do that? We generate that revenue, and it's important. Most of these are recurring revenues, so they happen year after year after year. So we added Shelter. There are almost 20 acres of land that they're paying for. Pilatus and their additional 13 acres. Long-term parking fee that literally just started, but we're making over $3,000 a month in parking fees. That's about $150,000 a year for basically buying some signs and paying 11 cents for an app to people to pay. We increased our fuel flows from, it was 8, and then we went to 9, then we went to 11, then we went to 13. We actually snow plows. We used to do it for free. Now we charge for the plow, and we make about $30,000 a year in snow plow rates. We rent our equipment. So we used to make about $15,000 for this room, but if somebody needed a scissor lift or a forklift to get an engine off a thing, my guys would just jump in a trailer or in a piece of equipment and go get it. I was like, we can't operate like that. Because one, you're not doing your own job, but you're putting wear and tear on the stuff. So our rates are very fair. They're actually a little bit cheaper than if you were to go out in town. But we end up making about another $40,000, $50,000 a year just getting, changing people's lights in their hangars and unloading things off trucks. We increased the T-hanger rates and established a common price per square foot. And I think that's one of the more important things that this board has done for the airport. When we looked at raising rates, and the ports hadn't had a rate increase in 25 years, and the T-hangers had been sporadically, but it was the biggest ones had the lowest rate, the medium ones had the highest rate, and the smallest ones had and we're like, how is it? And so the board kind of did some geometry and figured out that we're going to normalize per square foot, so that if you have the biggest T-hanger, you're paying the most per square foot, and so on. And we are actually on our last year that they created a 5-year plan to get that up. And so those rates are now more market-based. Again, we increased our port-to-port fees after 25, can you imagine that? 25 years without a rate increase. Crazy. We renegotiated old ground leases and got higher rates. And then we brought expiring leases when the hangars were sold or brought in, we brought those up. So that's what allows us to do what we do. Next slide, Ben. So here's your revenue versus operating. Our annual operating income was about $8 million. And the yellow line is our annual expenses for, I've gone out to 2030. So if you look at 2022, they're about $5 million and $6 million. And they're kind of tracking out. And so we try to keep at least $1 million more in revenue than operating expenses. And that's not, CDOT projects or FAA projects where we got to spend $1 million. This is just, if we had to run the airport, not do any projects. You will see towards 2022, 2023, that gap narrows significantly. The airport paid for a nationwide study on salaries, and the airport was woefully behind, especially in our operations and maintenance departments. I think 30, 40, 50% behind the national average for our airport our size. So working with Jefferson County, we got some significant raises for our people. We're gonna get another raise in January for our people to kind of normalize that, because what my argument to the county was, I've got the greatest staff in the world right now. And I'm losing them. We fill all the positions and we lose one. We fill all the positions, we lose one. We're able to normalize our rates and do much better. And again, as you see, as we go continually on out there, we want to keep that $1 million delta between our revenues and expenses. Did that answer your question, John?
Yeah, that does.
Next slide. So this is Brandon's favorite slide. He always talks about fund balance, how much is in the bank. And so right now in 2022, we've got about $7.5 million in the bank. That big chunk of restricted cash was about $3.5 million, was a lawsuit that we had when they built the safety area at the end of the runway 30 right, and the big slope off of 128, when that thing was sliding down. They spent, I think, $25 million to fix it. It's still sliding. So we sued and won, got $3.5, almost $4 million. And that is being designed right now. And for 2023, they're going to come in and fix that slope from sliding. Again, we don't know exactly how, but I think what the talks I have with the engineers, they're going to drill down into the bedrock and then, with these 48-inch pylons, and then wrap them up to the top with these giant cables and hold them so that it's like bedrock over here, a cable that goes around, hold the whole slide, that mountain to side together. So that's what that big red thing is. But you kind of look, and if you look at the $2 million level, that's Brandon's emergency cash. We never want to go below that. If you remember that first slide of what we inherited in 2017, we're actually at about $1.8 million. And why $2 million? That is 6 months of basic operating expenses that we can cover with that $2 million. Next slide. So you go, hey, Paul, that's great. You had $8 million, but that thing keeps coming down. And you're telling me you're making $1 million in revenue more. What's going on? All of those are basically expenses that are projects here at the airport. So in 2023, we've got taxiway Otis and Delta. That's the one that crosses Sims Road and goes out to that 200 acres. That's being designed in 2023 and built in 2024. Seal coat's $500,000 on 30 right, 12 left. Basin 160 is about a $1.3 million project, not FAA funded, but it's a drainage issue that we have to do to build on the south side. So the airport's going to go ahead and do it. And that way, as we develop the south side, that drainage system will work for that whole entire development area. Airfield vault, our backup generator and our rectifiers and whatever else is in the electrical vault is about 35 years old. And we're using, big giant screw-in canisters that are thing that powers all the lights out in the airfield. We actually got a grant for that, but we're still going to pay about I think it's $75,000 of our own money. But Ed Perlmutter got some, ARPA money, some whatever government running, and so that's going to fund that. And then our PAPI systems are also running out. And if any of you guys have come in at night, those PAPIs are out and they're intermittent, and so we're going to be working on those. As you can see, Otis and Delta in 24 is being built, and then we seal coat the other part of 30 left. 2025, we're gonna expand Otis and do more of Delta. So, you know, what happens is if you put a brand new taxiway out, but Delta's such a terrible shape. I don't know if you guys have been out there. We're actually gonna start with like a 2,000-foot section, then, you know, just kind of keep working out and get Delta done. So it supports Otis. Then we get to about 2026, it's the 321 removal and the design, the VOR relocation that allows us to develop. So there's that huge vinyl fence off of 128, our VOR's in the middle of that, if you see that. We can't develop that, because that VOR's there. Now we're hoping before that happens, the FAA says, you know, that's obsolete, you can take it out. And most of them are, but we're one of 5 in the country who are deemed for national safety. So we can't just, you know, turn it off and pull it out. We've got to keep it up and running. Or we can pay to move it, which we may do. And then finally in 2028, the master plan. Oh, Ben's in a hurry to get home, so I'll stop. So again, well, what's nice about that is I think we get down to just below $5 million cash on hand. All those projects are done and we're looking really good as an airports thing. Next slide, Ben. Many of you know we have what we call the Verb, which is the land down where FedEx is, quality bike parts off of 112. It's splits kind of where Sims is, and there's about 200 acres of that aviation land I was talking about. We have 450 acres that we're able to sell. So the FAA said and the reason we were allowed to sell it is it's on a huge slope and it's not conducive to aviation. So this is a dream sheet, but right now we have purchase and sale agreements for almost all the remaining land. And if all of that were to go through, that would equal about $28 million to the airport. Again, we're not counting on that money. I'm not saying, all right, let's go do a $20 million project.
One time.
Yep, it's a one-time thing. And we also think we'll probably get maybe 30 or 40% of those deals actually make it to the finish line. But what this would say is if that Verb were to completely sell out, what we would do is we take that money, we do $1 million a year for 5 years on equipment, catch up our equipment, because if you look at some of our stuff, it's really old. We also do 5 years at $1 million a year in deferred maintenances. And what does that mean? Our HVACs, our roofs, you know, we're kind of patching them and we're kind of keeping them going, but a lot of them need to be replaced. And yet that still leaves us in the, you know, $18 million range. So pretty healthy spot. Whether we sell those lands or not, again, we're pretty safe and we're pretty happy with where we're at. Next slide.
So Paul, what about those projects that you canceled to keep yourself from being underwater?
So we actually were able to redo each and every one of
Oh,
those.
okay, so those have been done.
Yep, those
They
have all
weren't
been
just
done.
Eliminated, they've been done.
Because that was that COVID stuff where we just said, we have no, I mean, I don't think anybody knew, especially in the very beginning. So we canceled all the projects. And by the end of that year, we mostly due to our flight schools, people still wanted to fly in our GA, we're still hammering out. And what we found was charters, so like Mountain and NetJets and the other ones, Porter and a few others, their bigger planes were not being used, but the smaller ones had like quadrupled and 6- and 7-fold increased in usage. And so you go, well, what's happening there? So, oil company A is not flying their people to Mexico for business meetings, so those planes aren't being used. But doctors and insurance, people who own small businesses were leasing these jets and doing these shared things on these King Airs and things. So Mountain happened to be perfectly positioned to have those aircraft on hand, and they would, completely were able to keep our fuel revenues up, our operations up. And so in the end, we were able to do pretty much everything we had cut out in that first year. One couple things that got moved 1 year back, but everything had been completed.
Yeah, okay,
Good question. All right, next slide, Ben. So 3 years ago, we noticed Alpha Taxi was failing, was getting ruts and potholes. And it actually, if you got your wheels into one of those ruts, you went to turn, it would roll your rubber right off the rim. And that was nowhere near anywhere in our CIP. So it went to number one, kind of screwed up some of the projects following it. But that was a total of 3-year project, but they just finished phase 2. So Alpha Taxiway is all brand new. And anybody who's been out there flying, everybody says it looks great and they did a great job. And so that was a total of about $11 million for the entire project. Next slide. Shelter has done a phenomenal job here. They built their terminal and their first hangar at 30,000. They built their second hangar of 30,000 square feet. So it looks like one giant hangar, but it's, just technically two hangars. About 3 weeks ago, they broke ground on C, D, and E. That's three 20,000 square foot hangars. That's right next to the Prino. And they are in planning, and they're at the 30% stage for one last hangar on their property that they'll start building here in about a year. So in about 6 years total, they'll completely filled out all 20 acres and everything they've, leased, and are looking for more land to build. So they've been extremely successful in developing and building their hangars. Next slide, please. Pilatus has also been super successful out here. Again, Pilatus was in this building for 20 years, and all but the ops offices down where my office is, and the admin staff down there, and 11 different hangars throughout this airport. So they would be shuffling parts, kind of a nightmare. In 2019, they had their main completion facility completed. About 2 years later, so 2021, they started their paint facility. But what was weird is those planes are built in Switzerland, flown here, the interiors are put in, and then they fly them to Kentucky or Kansas or Grand Junction, one other place, paint them, and then fly them back. And that added 3 weeks and X amount of dollars cost. They built their paint shop. Now they can do it in, 9 days basically. So cuts time, cuts expenses, and they just tow it from their completion center right around the corner. They paint it. Very high-tech paint facility. They got 3 bays and different airflows for depending on what they're doing. And I think it was 24 jobs that added too. Next slide. JSX has been going gangbusters here. My new favorite airline. Right behind United.
I won't say anything.
Yeah, they started here August 4th with flights to Burbank and Dallas. And then they added Las Vegas and Phoenix in November. And airport transitions to paid parking. So they're paying for some ramp space, some hangars or terminal space, and then we're getting paid parking through that because it just generates enough income. So we're super happy with what they're doing. I think anyone who's flown on them has said the same thing. It's like it's just a great experience. And I think what a great thing to this airport. The key about JSX is they're 30 seats. So the FAA does not require a true TSA. They have security screening, but not what you would think about as normal. And so they can operate out of airports like this. So they're very, very convenient. And what's important to the airport is they're not a Part 121. So let's say if United wanted to come here, not only would I have to get a terminal and do all the TSA stuff, but everybody that accesses this airport would have to get a badge. And I understand, like, I have a badge. This is the FBI background check, $99 a year badge. And so not only do you, if you're going to walk out and drive out to your hangar, but all the hangars that are on the street side, those people access those buildings, they've got to get. We figured out it was like 5,000 badges people would have to get. I mean, it's an incredible amount of badge at $99 a year for.
And
It
you have
doesn't
to,
go to the airport. It
you
goes
have to
to the.
renew it every year.
They have to renew it every year. So this is a great introduction to commercial service. Not saying that we won't go full commercial later on, but those come with headaches. It comes with a ton of revenue, but it also comes with a ton of headaches. So this is, I think, a perfect blend for this airport. They're extremely happy with this terminal and this airport. Some of their senior staff have been flying in here and going up to the mountains and enjoying it. And they're like, this is great. They really like it. Next slide.
And they're good, right? Every time I've been out here, they seem like they've got a pretty good crowd
Yep.
waiting.
Their roads are 20% better than what they thought. And I don't know if that's just a number, so I don't know what that is, but it's beating their expectations.
Yes, good.
So this is their route map. It's just kind of interesting. We're kind of up there, in Colorado, kind of the center part of the state. And if you kind of look at their route, they kind of hug the south and the west. So it looks like we would be perfect gateway up into the north and to the east as they start pushing their routes and expanding their airline. So I think, again, we're perfectly positioned to add a bunch of flights to their route map as they start pushing up into that direction. Next slide. Okay, so what, besides running an airport and, you know, bringing in revenue, what else do we do? We obviously participated in the Marshall Fire Support, both with active firefighting with our ARF guys, putting some water along 128. We had the JA fly-in where we had, what do you think, 35 planes flying, a little bit lower, but, you know, there's other events that day. It was a beautiful day. We've had the commemorative Air Force twice come and visit us. We've had the ARF drill. That was a Jeffco EOC multi organization. So we had Jeffco Fire, Jeffco Sheriff, North Metro, Broomfield Fire, Westminster Fire, a bunch of different entities coordinated. We had Special Olympics plane pull where they raised money for the Special Olympics. And then kind of a cool event was the Doc Calendar celebration. Dan did not know that was on this slide, it just came anyway, but if you didn't see it, it was really cool. Doc Calendar was one of the founders of this airport, recently passed away. Dan put on a great show. We had an air show. We had some great speakers and stuff. It was good. The other thing I'd like to point out is the green and white helicopter. So Biden came here and we supported his visit to this airport. So they landed in Denver, jumped in Marine One, flew here, got out, got in the limos, and then toured the Marshall Fire. So pretty exciting. Is there any more slides, Ben?
What's coming next?
What's coming soon? So if you think about where Pilatus is, excuse me, and our water tanks, Monday that lease gets signed. It's 30 acres of lease land on the south side. So that's kind of a diagram of what it looks like, of how they're going to lay out, but it's almost 500,000 square feet of hangars, 300 plus jobs, some offices and things like that. And you can kind of see in that picture to the right, those big black circles to the right, those are our water tanks. To kind of tell you where that's at. Something I've been personally working on since the day I got here is we had 2 hangars. That's the picture on the lower left, where there was a CrossFit gym and a marijuana dirt supplement maker. They basically made marijuana fertilizer, if you can believe that. Previous directors had written really poor, I'll say, not marine words, but leases that allowed those. So my attorney has said, you could take them to court, but you're never getting them off this airport. It says in here, CrossFit gym, marijuana supplemental dirt is allowed. I mean, just a terrible, terrible thing. Violates FAA grant assurance, does all kinds of things, but that hangar was sold. And I worked with the owner, Bob Weiler, again, since day one. For 4 years, I've been trying to get him out of there. And he actually owns the hangars and subleases them. They are gone. The state of Colorado has bought those hangars, and they're going to be moving in Firehawk helicopters to supplement the Fed Fire right next door. So to get 2 non-aviation tenants off the airport, which is awesome for us, and to actually to bring in firefighting, excuse me, firefighting operations and expanded capabilities is just a fantastic thing. So we're so happy about that. And then when I talked to JSX, again, they're talking about adding flights up to, I'll just say there's some cities that are more windy than others. And we think that may be their next. There's another one to the southwest that they're going to go to probably first. And then somewhere up to the northeast next. And we just think they're going to continually add flights as we go along. Next flight.
Is
there
it
a rumor,
30? Go ahead.
rumor that they're gonna get their own hangar terminal?
There is a rumor. I am in talks with them about that. It's about funding and who would pay for it and how we would pay for it, but my concern is this terminal gets too busy with 12 flights a day or whatever, you know what I mean? And so we want to make sure that if they continue to grow and they're progressing, that we move them to a place that can accommodate that many people and not ruin, you know, the people who enjoy this terminal space, their experience. So too early to kind of really like meat and potatoes, but I mentioned that to them and they're excited about the idea of having like a real terminal instead of, kind of fitting in where they do. So that's a good question though.
Is that ground lease on the south side, is that all new,
Brand new.
brand new hangars and?
Yep.
Okay.
Have they secured their lead tenant for that?
They won't tell me.
Okay.
They have been working with somebody for a very long time. We think they would be a fantastic addition to this airport, but they cannot or will not tell me if it's been secured or not. Next slide. Excuse me. So,
Yeah, I think.
Sims kind of comes this way right now. And, no, what am I looking at here, Ben?
Orange is kind of this is the existing.
Oh, there we go. So you can see that the yellow line is their existing Sims. It's going to be moved over to where El Dorado is, attach there and come down and then connect down to 112. And then there'll be like a little tie-in back to the airport. So this is where that 30 acres is, and that's lease gets signed on Monday. And then this is an additional 170 acres that we can now develop. Taxiway Otis will come from here out to there into that land. So
So there will be a road extender, like where Old Sims is, it takes you up to Pilatus. Does it just dead end right there?
So if you come off of 128, turn to go into Pilatus,
Yeah.
it'll dead end just at the end of their facility
Okay,
because that taxi will be coming. So that'll be the sort of north Sims, we'll call it.
Yeah.
South Sims looks like that kind of little squiggly yellow line.
Yeah.
And comes into the airport. And then most likely there'll actually be a mid entry to the airport. And we're still working on the location. Yeah. Some over there so that, we don't want everybody to have to funnel into two entrances in all those acres. And then once Sims is moved, and I'm being told that construction is gonna start before the end of the year. And it'll take a year to do, but that allows us to develop, that's the picture on the right, you can see kind of the north-south taxiway. And then the sort of, it's just pictures, it's all market driven, what we actually end up putting in there.
so does that road become airport responsibility then if it's dedicated to the airport, or is that still
No.
county?
It's county, and here's why. Because that's a public access to a public building. That's county responsibility.
Okay.
This road is a public access to a federal facility, to the FAA. That's county responsibility. The only thing we would be responsible for is, let's say, from here, there are some hangars there, and we needed to build a road to go in a quarter mile or whatever. That would be an internal airport road, but we would put that on the developer who builds that to say, hey, you gotta have access, tie in your road. But all that is, and it technically it's not even county, it's the metro district. So the Verve Metro District is the one that manages that, and I'm not an expert in metro districts, but they have taxing authority, and kind of that's how they raise funds. They actually did bonds. I think they have $38 million worth of bond sales to move that road. Next slide.
So then everything southwest of New Sims is what's for sale.
Yes, okay, yes. Which, if you go back to that slide, all but like 12 acres of that is in an agreement right now. So it could all be sold by the end of 2023. Now, again, we've had about a 30% success rate from we get a letter that says, letter of intent from a company, we take it through the process and then they bail for, multiple reasons. But it's interesting that we've got so many interested parties all at the same time, fighting for some of the same parcels. And we believe, Jansen from the EDC, who's in San Antonio right now at a leadership conference thing. It's like in Jefferson County especially, we're the only place that has big lots. You can get a little 3 acre or 5 acre, but we have a 110 acre lot that 2 people are bidding on. We've got a 24, we've got a 36, we've got these large. So when people want to do big projects, we're really the only place in Jefferson County that we can do that. I think that's the last
So
slide.
that place more demand on the airport as well?
It should,
depending on the type of business.
I think the type of business, I mean, the dream would be you bring in like an oil and gas company, right? And they have their flight, like a Leprino, right? They have their flight department and then they go have a little factory down in the Verb, but may or may not happen. But I've got at least 5 major corporations that want to have large tracts of land once Sims has moved in that area, to come in here. And so I think, again, if I were a betting man, if I can get Sims moved and the taxiway built in 10 years, we'll be completely built out.
Well, it sounds like Sims is a done deal, right? If they're gonna start, they're gonna start construction.
Well, they've been telling me they're gonna
Gotta be
start
done.
this year for 4 years, so I never, until I see a bulldozer out there moving, it is a metro district.
Right,
It's not the county, so I don't have any
right.
leverage.
Who are the members of the Metro District? Is that the property owners within Verve?
Yes. So QBP, FedEx, SunCap, and again, I don't know how, but they pay so many mills.
Yep.
And that's how they
Yeah.
basically,
Basically, the way Metro districts work is it's a special taxing district, own special kind of segment of government. It has a higher property tax rate than a Metro district, and not in a Metro district. And that higher property tax increment goes to the Metro district to oftentimes to pay off bonds. So typically to do a project like that costs a bunch of money all at once up front, and they'll pay it off over time. And, they might pay it off over 40 years or something like that.
yeah, so they did bonds to move Sims, and so
Yeah.
that's how they would then again fund that, so.
I would imagine though, they work in concert with the county, or they're probably a
No.
separate entity, but I would
Right,
think they'd
right.
have to work in concert with them.
Well, I mean, obviously that from a standpoint of, they'll have to cooperate with the county as far as, road inspections and where the road goes and all that kind of stuff. But typically the county or the municipal, I'm more familiar with the municipal government, but they have, authority over the Metro District when the Metro District is formed. And the county or the city has to approve what's called their service plan, which is what are we gonna do with the money? And so I would assume, I don't know anything about that Metro District, but I would assume if they've bonded already, the county's already done that. They've already approved their service plan, which is approving what are they gonna do with the tax increment
And I would imagine they have to be county standards.
on the road. Oh, without a doubt. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Because they'd be building that road for the county.
Right.
It'll become a county, they'll build it and then
I
it
got
goes
it.
on to the county.
Yeah, as I understand it, the county would like fix potholes and pave it.
Yep.
The Metro District's responsible for the median and the trees and like the grass and if there's sidewalks, so it's a
The
kind of a
maintenance
weird
side,
thing.
on that side.
Yeah, Ben and I have been in countless meetings with planning and zoning and the Metro District, people, and they're talking about, well, the road needs to be 18 feet with this, 12-foot median. The Metro District's like, no, we want 16 feet, 10-foot medians, and, well, the acceleration lane needs to be 1,000 feet, no, and so it's all in coordination with the county. I think that's it, Ben, next slide.
Hey, Ben, that young little fella, would that have been you many years ago?
I would never have been that wild.
He resembles you, though. Kiwi.
So with that, any questions either here in the room or on the OWL or whatever that thing's called?
I
WebEx?
noticed, we've got Joe Ramos and Tony are both on the.
So Tony,
Someone's
Joe,
on-
and Randy?
So you actually might have before.
Nothing special from me. I just think it's just a fantastic job, and it's really nice to see all the progress of all the work and all the dreams, and kind of just see some of the stuff start coming together. So great job on the presentation, and great job on getting your staff raises. Way to keep a first-class crew up there.
It is important, and, I was talking to Brian, him and I have this morning meeting every day to kind of figure out what's going on. And he's like, most directors would just give up, like working through the process. It took me 3.5 years to get them. We get the county raise, which is 2 or 3%, which is nice, but when you look at what the industry standard is, he goes, man, most guys will just give up. I'm like, not me. I drive people crazy because I will never give up. So I told my staff, that's phase 1, Joe. We're going to continue to fight. We're going to continue to get a raise because what they do on a day-to-day basis allows me to do what I do, and that's to bring in businesses and make this airport success and work with the FAA and work with the things. And it really is, we are a Super Bowl winning team right now, and I want to keep them. And I think we can continue to, we were at 19 staff actually 17 when I first started. We're at 26 now, and I have 6 part-time guys to help with snow. And they're extremely busy, and we're actually probably going to add 2 more positions in 2023 as we continue to grow.
Yeah, it's
Exciting
fantastic.
stuff.
Nice job.
What kind of
Yeah, I
positions?
want to Paul, you and your staff, Ben, Brian, Brandon, your whole staff done a great job in the last 4 years of making it a very multiple use airport and revenues. So, great job.
Thank you. So we focused on operations because that's the firefighters, the guys who are out on the runway, and that's staff. The other thing I did is I had a maintenance crew that was both airside and landside. And so Steve Kirby, if you guys know Steve, was a one-shot pony. And any project he needed, he would go to the maintenance guys and say, hey, I got to do this, I got to do this. And so we separated those out. So my maintenance team goes outside the fence, and Steve now has 3 full-time. I think he has 3 full-time workers. So he's responsible for everything. And again, I think that becomes more efficient, and we get somebody who's got the people in. And when we do really big projects, we still kind of beg and borrow. We're not completely stovepipe. But the jobs most likely will be, so the chain of command goes from me to Brian, and then it goes over to Chris and then to Andrew. And then all the ops guys answer to Andrew. So I think the next position will be another Andrew. So we split the day, or actually split the week in half. And Andrew, or whoever we hire, takes half of it because he's got 12 guys, direct reports covering the whole week, and it just kind of get too much for him. Especially again with JSX, adding staff to make sure we got enough people on staff to cover. And then the last one may be, maintenance wants a position, but I said, we're not really adding to your responsibility. We actually almost bought the Bob Weiler hangar, the CrossFit gym. We had the money, I briefed the commissioners. And I said, if we bought the building, I would actually add some staff to sort of maintain it. So I think we're gonna do a part-time maintenance worker. And then the discussion would be the last position in 2023, maybe a noise specialist. I hate to do that because I don't think there's enough work for just a noise specialist. And it's kind of hard when, you're like, well, you're gonna be the noise guy, but you also gotta plow and do all the other things. So, I don't know who that last position will be though. Again, it depends on, I've only got Gabe and Randy as my maintenance workers. I got 113 pieces of gear that they maintain. So I may add a maintenance worker or a fleet maintenance worker, not a building maintenance worker. But right now, the key is to get us through snow season with our 6 temps and everybody. And then we kind of take a deep breath and go, okay, where, like our focus and 6.5 months is snow. And then once we get through that, then we'll take a deep breath and we'll actually analyze. Go ahead, whoever's on the WebEx.
I'm good. Everything sounds great.
Job.
All right. Anybody else?
A good update, thank you.
Thanks.
How about the enforcement of the parking fees? How do you handle that?
So we think it's a pretty cool system. The app we went through only charges us each transaction. So if David comes in and stays one day, it's $11 a day, by the way. That's $11 and they take 43 cents, 39 cents. It's less than $1. You come in and spend 2 weeks there, they only charge 43 cents. So it's by transaction. So, and the way it happens is they print out a report, my guys at night, they print out a report of who's current by license plate and who's expired. And what they do is they just go through and they kind of just go, okay, that one's expired or whatever, and drive through like, oh, that license plate doesn't match up. And we haven't ticketed anybody yet. We've given a couple warnings. Again, we don't want to get into the towing business. But with that report, my guys can just drive up and down looking at the license plates and see if it's not alphabetical, it's numerical order. So it's supposedly pretty easy to follow. It goes like Colorado and then Delaware and then Texas. So you go Oh, it's a Texas tag. You don't have to go look through the whole thing. You just go down to Texas, go. There's only one of them. Yep, he's in, and keep driving.
And did you say that's generating $3,000?
A week, yep. So it's been active for 2 weeks. The first week was 2,500. The second week was 3,500.
Is there any plan to take that revenue and pave it?
Yes. So I'm I'm rarely ever wrong. I've only been wrong twice my whole entire life.
How many times?
What's your name?
Uh, Liz and Sarah. Paving. And it was gonna cost us $500,000 before JSX ever started. And the reason being is my thought was, once we start, it's gonna be really hard to pave it with active, trying to block sections off and get people in and do half and then, and I said, this, not only are we gonna have a full parking lot, but within a year, we're gonna have to expand. So we actually budgeted an extra $1 million to tear down some trees and expand some parking lot. I have some plans. Maybe I'll show that next time. But what we found is JSX operates out of a lot of airports that doesn't do self-park. Like Burbank, there's no self-parking. You can either, Uber, Lyft, or valet at $45 a day.
Yeah.
So the JSX customer is like Uber, lifting, or getting dropped off, or Go Rentals. They do Go rental cars in and out. And so, like, for the first month, I was like, holy, like, we're getting 9 cars a day, because I drive through every day. And I was like sweating, and I'm like, I can't believe I was wrong, because we were gonna spend $500,000 in generating. But now that it's caught on, we're actually generating the income. So I will say I'm not wrong yet. I think I may have been wrong, but we're gonna actually take that money and pave it probably maybe 2024, depending on what the numbers go through the winter. But yeah, we want to pave. And the reason we want to pave it is one, because it's nice, but the other one, we can't really plow
Well, that was gonna be my next
the
question.
gravel lot.
Yeah, that was my
So
next thing.
my guys have, we ended up buying a tractor from the Denver surplus sale, where we bought the 2 big dump trucks with the 25-foot plows that we plow Shelter and Signature. That's where we make that $30,000 a year plowing their ramps. So we spent $15,000 on these trucks. We already made like $75,000 on, snow removal for those guys. And those trucks will last, another 10, 15 years. So we went out and spent $3,500 on a John Deere 4-wheel drive tractor with an 8-foot blade. And then my guys, Gabe, welded on some wings to it. And they did it on this last storm. You can't just like let it down. You gotta, it's one of our skilled operators needs to be in there just kind of floating it, and it's not gonna be perfect. And we get a big storm, it's gonna be messy, and we're gonna get cars stuck, and we're gonna get, so I believe we will pave it in 2023.
Yeah.
TBD, because we want to get through the winter again, but I think that just makes sense to get it paved. The other thing though that goes with that is, with the study we're doing, we may tear down some of the existing hangars, our airport-owned hangars, and move the parking lot over there. So was it B2? I don't remember the numbers, but tear that building out and move that parking lot closer onto the airfield.
Is it B2 or the B4?
As for the commemorative Air Forces,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
that
B- I
one.
think it's
The
what used to
one
be- I think it was
closest to us.
B4, maybe that's B2
I
and
get them
B4.
mixed up.
Yeah, but, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Paul, how much of capacity of that parking lot are we using, or is JSX using? Is it ever more than half full?
No, so we, there's 115
Yeah.
spots, right, as is. And we've never had more than 60 cars in there with JSX. We could so right now we've got, car park here, car park there, and you pull in, you go this way and you back out.
Right.
We could turn all those car stops on an angle, have one way in, one, kind of like at the grocery stores or whatever, and we can jump that up to over 150 some spots, so add about 40 more spots. So that would be our first, if something were to happen when we're at capacity, we would just go in and turn all those, buy an extra 40 of them and get those spots. And when we pave it, that's the way we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it, go in and get those extra spots. So we're gonna, and then there's a spot between that parking lot and where Signature is. We call it the thumb, because it looks like a green thumb and it's all green. Well, that'll be our phase two as we plow that and pave that and tie that into the parking lot. So we get another 45 or 50 spots in this. So we could go quite a ways. The issue is we could probably manage with parking, but then our terminal's overbooked.
Okay.
Right? So it's like one of those ones where not only do we have to figure out what the parking's gonna be over the next couple, I mean, they keep adding flights, we're really talking about 2 years. And then what do we do with the terminal and the parking? I think, that's one of the things I have Javiation doing for me is looking at a study on how we can manage that.
And if they build a hangar somewhere else, then it might negate the need for parking over here.
Yeah,
Need parking over there.
yep.
Are the people staying out of your non-overnight parking pretty much, or are you having any trouble with JSX customers parking where they're not supposed to?
So what we did is
We thought that might be a problem.
we thought that might be a problem if you remember that brief.
Yeah.
So again, we have my night crew go by and they check over there. And the way we do is, again, we don't want to be towers, so it's like, and we get, pilots that come in late or pilots leave really early or whatever. So it's 2 days. So if, let's say, my car's parked out there tonight and at midnight, the guy goes, okay, Dodge Durango, whatever. And they don't tow it after midnight, which is what, that would be the thing. They wait till the following after midnight. So the guy's like, well, wait a minute, you've been there 2 days. That way, if if I'm on a flight coming in from Signature or something, I'm not getting towed the first night. So, I think we stickered less than 5 cars. And those stickers are almost impossible to remove. I mean, it like takes hours with a razor and it's like,
And Signature feels like they have enough space to support their customers.
Yep.
over there. Yeah. I mean, that's not marked well, right? Like in terms of people knowing.
it is now. So when you guys leave, go out and there's a big flashing red sign that says no overnight parking. And all throughout the parking lot, there's no overnight parking, towing enforced signs. Same thing with, the signage over in our long-term route. There's, every 6 spots, there's a sign that says pay for parking. And there's a flashing sign that says long-term parking, pay via text. So,
I guess I'm thinking about the difference between, the public parking.
oh,
here
the
and then
delineation
Signature.
between signature and not? It's not,
And I guess
other than the entrances off that road are marked.
I mean, that would be Signature's problem to solve for, I suppose, if it were a problem, right?
Yeah,
Marking their spots, right?
yeah.
Well, that's
Alright.
awesome. I think especially the JSX news is so good. And as we've had meetings here and have seen them come in and out and the people in the terminal, honestly, I think it looks awesome when you walk in the terminal and there's 20 people sitting there
Yeah.
waiting for their flight. I think it's a great thing. And
It is.
it probably provides opportunities for at least somebody who wants to sell food to them or,
Yeah.
whatever, to have those people there. I think it's a great development.
Yeah, that's gotta be great for Blue Sky's
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
The rental car agencies.
Yeah, oh, Go Rentals went from 15 cars to like 65 cars and they want more. Because again, JSX customers and JSX has a partnership with Go Rentals. And so their customer comes off and it's
So
great service.
Where do they keep those cars?
So along the fence line here, we lease them 11 or 15 spots. And then just on the other side of B2 or B4, again, I don't remember the name of, where Colorado Heliops, there's another 18 spots along the fence line.
Okay.
And then they have a bay over there where they can wash their cars. They keep 6 more in there. So they've got, a couple more, I can't, but they want more spots. And every time they add a flight, they want 10 more spots. And so it's like, when I went to Burbank, I landed, I'm walking off, I got my pool bag and everything, and they're like, Mr. Ansel? I'm like, yeah. Like, hey, we'll take your bag. I'm like, okay, follow me. And you walk 10 feet, there's the trunk open, they're like, you want it in the back seat or the trunk? I'm like, trunk would be nice, and they throw it in the trunk closet, here's your keys, go. That's 15 seconds from the time I landed till the time I was in my rental car. That was phenomenal. Same thing here, the guys or gals land here, they walk in, their car's parked in the circle, they walk them out, they get in the car, and away they go.
Because they're partner of GSX and it's included in the ticket aspect,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Don't have to deal with all that.
For a pretty competitive ticket price, that's pretty
Yep.
phenomenal thing
So-
for customers. That'll catch on as people figure that out.
I think so. That's why I really feel, and that's why I wanted to check it out. it's a phenomenal travel means.
Yeah.
It's just so convenient. Obviously, they don't fly everywhere, but it is really convenient if you're trying to go to one of their locations. Great. All right, Joe, you got anything?
Nope, that's it, man. I've got a great meeting. Thanks so much. Fantastic update.
Deer or pheasant? Isn't pheasant season started?
Oh, I was deer hunting. I just literally rolled in from deer hunting and I am sad to say that the freezer remains empty.
All right. All right. Well, everybody have a great night. And thanks for coming. Thanks for logging in if you couldn't make it in person. And thanks for everybody here.
Thanks a lot. You take care. Great job.
Okay, yeah.